The J&L 3.0 driver side oil separator that we're talking about here today is going to be for the 2014 through 2018 V8 Silverado or Sierra owners who are looking for the ultimate in protection in regard to capturing the oily vapors produced during combustion from being rerouted back into your truck's intake tract and basically just gumming up the inside of your engine. Now the J&L will feature a billet aluminum 3-ounce container in satin silver, complete with the factory style hoses and fittings. And of course you got your laser etch bracketry, all for right around that high $100 price point. Install is going to be a pretty much simple plug and play job here, guys. So figure a soft 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Site calls this one an hour to complete from start to finish. I feel that's being very generous, but regardless, hang out with me for a bit. Let's talk about this thing and we'll walk you through that install later in the video. All right, little truck 101 here, guys. If you didn't know, your truck has what is called a PCV system, which is short for positive crankcase ventilation. Now, the purpose of this system is to regulate and remove the fumes produced during combustion from the engine crankcase and help alleviate that crankcase pressure, which, if not, would otherwise lead to things like oil leaks or seal damage. Now, because laws do mandate that the PCV system be sealed, the engine has to use vacuum to draw these vapors out of the crankcase and then ultimately plumb them back into the intake tract where they are to be burned off during the next combustion cycle. Now, I know this all sounds good in theory, and while yes, it does work for the most part, what happens is these oily vapors tend to leave a little residue in the intake manifold, and the backside of your intake valves over time, which can lead to things like valve coking or deposits. Now, this is the driver side from J&L, but full disclosure here, guys, I would argue the passenger side typically does a lot, if not most, of the heavy lifting in regards to being the more productive side, if you will. And if you haven't already considered or installed a passenger side separator, you can find those here on the site as well from J&L. Same color, same price point, you know the deal. Now, the driver side that we're talking about here today, I would think is going to be a great complement to that passenger side option and would ultimately equate in the most protection for your 5.3 or your 6.2 powered ride. So how does this little guy from J&L work? Well, what happens is that oily vapor is going to pass through your truck's PCV system and into the separator. Now, at that point, the solids present in this vapor, basically little microscopic bits of oil and unburnt fuel and other junk, get caught up in the aluminum honeycomb and stainless steel mesh material up top, and then drop down into that canister below while still allowing for fresh, clean air to pass through your PCV system as it normally should. Now, as far as emptying this bad boy, well, you do have a little knurled bottom here. It helps you unscrew it rather easily. And J&L claims doing that every 5,000 to 7,000 miles is not a bad idea. Now, it's been my experience with these things. I've had a few of them on my trucks in the past. They tend to fill up a little quicker than that. So if I were you, I'm just recommending checking it a little bit more frequently, maybe 2 times per interval as far as your oil change is concerned. Now, as far as emptying it, well, just make sure you're doing it responsibly, guys, not dumping it in the yard or down a drain or anything like that. And I always like to encourage reviews of something like this, right? Because I'm just one guy, I can tell you my experience, but a great way to hear from fellow Silverado and Sierra owners is to check out the 100 plus 4 and 5 star reviews that we got on the site from truck owners who have these on their 5.3 or their 6.2, and just will tell you how they really feel about it and if it works or not. But in my experience, again, they tend to do a great job because, again, the result speaks for itself, right? Every time you go to open this thing up after a few thousand miles, you see the junk that's in there and you know that would otherwise end up into your intake manifold and just basically help gum things up. But let's get into the construction of the J&L a little bit more here, guys. Extremely solid stuff has been my experience with the J&L, including your knurled billet aluminum canister. 3 ounces is your capacity overall. You have a CNC cut or laser cut J&L logo up top here. And as you can see, this particular option does feature that satin silver finish, which is going to stand out under the hood a little bit more, I would think, but prefer to keep things a little bit more stealthy. Well, J&L also has a black option, same price point, you can check out instead. Now, one of the big pros with the J&L kits here for me is the inclusion of the factory style lines already cut to length, along with your factory style fittings, which is basically going to make for a very easy install along with a factory-like fit. Now, speaking of that install, why don't we dive into that a little bit more here, guys. Again, 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, so you know what you're getting yourself into. It's gonna be pretty much a plug and play job. Your only exception is you're gonna have to find a spot here. J&L lays it out very clearly to mount your bracket, which is ultimately going to hang on to the separator itself. But give you a better idea of just how this will all go down, feel free to check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown now.
Tools used for this installation: Phillips screwdriver, 13mm socket, 5/16 socket, 1/4 inch drive ratchet, and 1/4 inch drive extension. Hey guys, I'm going to walk you through the install of our J&L oil separator on our 2014 Chevy here. First thing we're going to do is remove our airbox, so let's get started. So to uninstall our airbox, first thing we're going to do is push up on these buttons here and pull our lines off our airbox here. And then you got one over here, same thing. You're going to push onto the clip. And once you push the clip, you'll hear it pop, and then you can slide these out of the way. Next, I'm going to take a 5/16. I'm going to get in here, loosen up our clamp off our throttle body, and the one over here that hooks up to the airbox over here. Now once I get those two loose, we're just going to give it a snug, pull it off there, pull it off there, and that removes our airbox. So now we're going to remove our PCV line, which is going to be a little difficult to see, but you have a connection back here and a connection down underneath your throttle body. You're going to push in the white tab on the connector and then pull up. It will release, and once you do that, you're going to be able to spin this, and once you spin it, it'll give you access to the white tab on the back here. You're going to push that in and feel it click, and then pull it out. And then fish it right out. It is a little tough to get to the back one, and you just got to make sure that you push that tab down. Once you turn it, it gives you better access to the tab. Now that we have this removed, we'll start installing our oil catch can. So the first thing we're going to do to mount our oil catch can, we're going to remove this 13mm bolt here. And we're going to take our bracket, and you see it says OSC. We're going to put that down so that it faces just like that. And we're going to snug it up. I'm not going to tighten it yet, just snug. And then we're going to take our catch can and our 2 Phillips head screws that were supplied in the kit. And we're going to make sure that this all lines up and matches this. So once I get those two started, I'm going to take my Phillips screwdriver, tighten these up. And we'll leave it loose for now so that we can move it around after we hook our lines up. Now that I got those tight, we'll get ready and start installing our lines. So first thing we're going to do before we install our hoses, I took a little oil, went down inside here, made sure that these O-rings that are inside here have some oil, some lubrication. You're going to want to do that because of the plastic fittings. When they slide over, it could get stuck. I also put a little grease on both of them fittings down there before I made my connections. That way it just gives it and makes it a little easier to put on. Now we're going to take the outside one here where the C is, this one here, we're going to route that one down through here and make that connection down in here. You feel it slide on just like that. And we're going to take our outer one here, and that's going to get routed through this part here and go back, and it might be a little hard to see, but you're going to slide it on that tube back there. And you're just going to push it on. You'll feel it connect. Now once we have those done and they're connected, now we'll be able to reinstall our airbox, and we'll take our 13mm and tighten our bolt up here. And you can pretty much put this where you want it, where it makes it easier for all the hoses to route. I'm gonna kind of leave it right there. That looks good. We'll finish putting our airbox back on. So again, I left this loose so I could move it where I wanted it. I'll take my 13mm, tighten that back up. That's good there. I like where the hoses are. So now we'll reinstall our airbox. I'm gonna just take it, sit it down inside here, hook up my hose to the airbox over here first. Once I have that in place, then I'll take it, put it on the throttle body. And then we'll reassemble our lines on the end here. I'll take my 5/16. That wraps up this review and install of our J&L 3.0 satin oil separator driver side for 1418 V8 Silverado and Sierra 1500s. Thanks for watching, and for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.